In a quiet corner of England, in the town of Harlow, Essex, a baby boy with bright red hair came into the world on August 24th, 1988. His parents, Nigel and Joanne Grint, welcomed their first child with joy. Nigel worked as a dealer in racing memorabilia, while Joanne took care of their growing family. They named him Rupert Alexander Lloyd Grint, never imagining that one day this red-haired boy would become one of the most beloved faces in cinema. Rupert was the eldest of 5 children. Soon after him came his brother James, followed by 3 sisters Georgina, Samantha, and Charlotte. The family settled in Watton-at-Stone, Hertfordshire, a peaceful area just north of London. It was the kind of place where children could play freely, where neighbors knew each other's names, and where life moved at a gentle, predictable pace. The Grint family raised their children in the Catholic faith, and young Rupert later admitted that as a boy, he feared God. But there was something else that captured young Rupert's imagination even more powerfully then. Fear something that might seem quite ordinary to most people, but to him represented pure magic ice cream. When asked about his dreams as a child, Rupert would confess with a smile that his earliest goal in life was to become an ice cream man. He thought it always seemed like a really cool job. Picture a small boy with flaming red hair, watching the ice cream van drive through his neighborhood, hearing that cheerful jingle, seeing children's faces light up with joy. For young Rupert, that wasn't just a job, it was happiness on wheels. School days arrived and Rupert attended Richard Hale School in Hartford. It was there, in the school's drama department, that something awakened inside him. He discovered the world of theater and took an avid interest in performing. He landed roles in school productions, including playing Rumpelstiltskin in the Brothers Grimm fairy tales. He also joined the Top Hat Stage and Screen School, a local theater group that gave him small but memorable parts, once as a fish in Noah's Ark, and another time as a donkey in a nativity play. Imagine young Rupert in a fish costume or wearing donkey ears, making his parents and siblings laugh in the audience. These weren't glamorous roles, but they taught him something invaluable: the joy of becoming someone else, of telling stories, of making people feel something through performance. Interestingly, Rupert was quite different from the character he would eventually become famous for playing. "I was never the kind of kid who was destined for trouble," he recalled. He wasn't a troublemaker or a rebel. He was a good kid who loved his family, enjoyed acting in his spare time, and dreamed of driving an ice cream van. Yet Rupert would later admit honestly that he didn't really like school that much. The structured classroom environment, the endless hours of sitting still, the memorization and tests, none of it excited him the way that stepping onto a stage did. Little did he know that his formal education would soon take an unexpected turn. The year 1999 arrived, and with it came news that would electrify children across Britain. A beloved book series about a young wizard named Harry Potter was being adapted into a major motion picture. The author, J.K. Rowling, had one firm requirement: the cast must be British. She personally assisted director Chris Columbus in the search for the perfect young actors to bring her characters to life. By this time, the Harry Potter books had become a phenomenon. Children everywhere had fallen in love with the story of the orphan boy who discovered he was a wizard, who attended a magical school called Hogwarts, and who had 2 loyal best friends, the brilliant Hermione Granger and the warm-hearted Ron Weasley. 10-year-old Rupert was one of those devoted fans. He had read the books, imagined the magical world, and felt a special connection to Ron. Weasley, the youngest boy in a large family, loyal to a fault, brave even when scared, and always ready with a joke to lighten the mood. When Rupert saw a newsround report announcing the open casting call, his heart raced. This was his chance. But how could he, a boy who had only played a fish and a donkey in local productions, compete with thousands of other children who wanted the same role? Then Rupert had an idea so bold and creative that it would change his life forever. Instead of a traditional audition tape, he decided to rap. He created a video of himself rapping about how desperately he wanted to play Ron Weasley, pouring his personality and enthusiasm into every line. Picture this: a red-haired boy in his bedroom, probably feeling both excited and terrified, performing a rap about Harry Potter for a video camera. It was unconventional. It was risky. It was perfect. The casting team watched the tape and immediately knew there was something special about this boy. They asked for a meeting with him. Rupert traveled to London with his parents, his heart probably pounding, hoping against hope that his dream might come true. The casting process was long and grueling. Thousands of children auditioned. The pressure was immense. These 3 young actors would become the faces of one of the most beloved book series in the world. They had to be perfect. Then came the announcement that made headlines around the world. In August 2000, the world learned that 3 young actors had been chosen. Daniel Radcliffe would play Harry Potter, Emma Watson would play Hermione Granger, and Rupert Grint, the eldest of the trio, would play Ron Weasley. Rupert's family must have erupted in celebration. The boy who had played a donkey in a school play was about to star in a major Hollywood film. The child who had never acted professionally was about to work with some of the finest actors in Britain. The young man who dreamed of selling ice cream was about to become a movie star. Years later, Grint would describe his first day on the Harry Potter set with a sense of wonder that never faded. Walking into the Great Hall for the first time was absolutely incredible. All these effects, with all the candles floating in the air, all lit and everything, food on the table, all the flambeaux were lit. It was just incredible. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. Imagine being 11 years old, walking onto a set where magic seemed real, where the world you had only read about in books suddenly surrounded you. The floating candles, the long tables filled with props that looked like food, the enchanted ceiling showing the sky above it must have felt like stepping through a wardrobe into Narnia, or falling down the rabbit hole into Wonderland. When Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was released in 2001, it shattered records. Opening day sales broke previous records. Opening weekend earnings exceeded all expectations, and it became the year's highest-grossing film. Overnight, Rupert's life transformed. He was no longer just a boy from Hertfordshire. He was Ron Weasley. Everywhere he went, people recognized him. Children pointed and whispered. Adults asked for autographs. Photographers followed him. His face appeared in magazines worldwide. The sudden fame was overwhelming. The strangest moment was when I went back to school to finish my exams after filming the first movie, Grint recalled. Imagine walking back into your school, where just months before you were a regular student, and now everyone knows who you are. Your classmates have seen you on movie screens 20 feet tall. Teachers who once graded your homework have watched you perform alongside some of Britain's greatest actors. But the journey was only beginning. The first film's success meant there would be more, many more. Over the next decade, Rupert would earn approximately $30 million for playing Ron Weasley. His salary started at $1 million for the first film and grew substantially with each successive movie. He also received a percentage of the film's profits. For most people, this would be an unimaginable amount of money. For a young teenager, it was almost incomprehensible. What do you do when you're 15 years old and suddenly wealthy beyond your wildest dreams? Here's where Rupert's true character shines through. He remembered his childhood dream. With some of his earnings from Harry Potter, Rupert bought an ice cream van and actually sold ice cream to local customers in his neighborhood. That little boy who once dreamed of bringing joy to people with ice cream, he made it happen, just not in the way he originally imagined. From 2001 to 2011, Rupert appeared in all 8 Harry Potter films. Think about that for a moment. From age 11 to age 23, some of the most formative years of a person's life, Rupert lived 2 lives simultaneously. He was Rupert Grint, a teenager trying to figure out who he was, dealing with the same confusions and discoveries as any young person. But he was also Ron Weasley, a character beloved by millions, whose every expression and gesture would be watched and rewatched by fans around the world. The films came one after another. Chamber of Secrets in 2002, Prisoner of Azkaban in 2004, Goblet of Fire in 2005, Order of the Phoenix in 2007, Half-Blood Prince in 2009, and finally, Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2 in 2010 and 2011. Each film brought new challenges. Ron had to face his fears, and Rupert had some very real fears to draw upon. He has arachnophobia, a genuine terror of spiders. So when Ron had to confront Aragog, the giant spider in Chamber of Secrets, Rupert's look of absolute horror wasn't acting, it was real. Even though the spider was computer-generated, the fear on his face was authentic. To this day, Rupert has admitted he still can't bring himself to watch those spider scenes. But there were also moments of pure joy. Rupert loved filming scenes on the Hogwarts Express, Rebouquet,